first part, you plug in the 14 for your X, and you plug in the 10 for the basketball hoop, for the height of the basketball hoop. You crank that out. That's nothing but algebra. You crank that out, and you get 22.64. Now, I did that part right. But what happened was, when I plugged it back in, when I took 22.64 and plugged it in for V, in the calculator, I did negative 16 divided by this number, and I forgot to put my negative right here. So when I went through and did this little calculation to get my vertex, that little negative right there made this Y come out to be 49 feet. So the negative does make a difference. And I didn't mean to drop it, I just dropped it. So anyway, just write it down, and what I want you to do when you go home tonight is try to actually do the problem without the solution and see if you can do it. Now, it's tedious. I probably would not put this one on a test because it takes too much time. And you have to utilize the calculator, which is the second reason I don't want you to, I want you to utilize the calculator, but I don't want you to what?
Use it as a crutch.
I don't want you, exactly. I don't want you to depend on it. This one is a calculator problem. And you will use the calculator in the real world. Then why don't you let the reason I don't want you to use it in here too much is because in college algebra, college trig, Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, DPQ, physics, thermodynamics, dynamics, statics, you are developing what part of your brain? The problem-solving process. If you depend on that calculator to do half of the problem-solving process, then your bridge is going to fall, or your building is going to fall, or your things that you do in chemical and mechanical engineering are not going to be correct. That's why psychologists don't build bridges. So finish writing that down. Got a question? Completing the square. I divided 1.15 by 0.072 and got negative 15.97. Divide that by 2 and square it, you get 63.78. Now it's a long decimal like this, but I rounded to the hundredth, and I came out with the correct answer rounding to the hundredth. So finish writing. If you got any questions, holler. I don't know. Did we get 22.64 in the notes the other day? I thought we messed up down here. I couldn't remember. That's all right. I don't need to know. That's fine.
Yeah, we did get 22.64.
Okay, so we messed up right here. Okay. Well, there was people giving me. That's why I did it on the calculator myself. No offense.
Catch your stuff.
I don't know why y'all don't want to talk out loud. I mean, I just don't understand the penalty. It must be something to do with that room. When you go into that room, is it like Hemotep when he went up against the Scorpion King? It just sucks all your vocals out, or what?
Yeah, kind of.
You never
kind
watched
of like a
the
jail
Scorpion
cell in
King?
here.
Hemotep? Oh my gosh, that is one of the greatest movies. It's a clean movie too. The Mummy?
Oh.
Not The Mummy with Tom Cruise, that was stupid. But The Mummy with Brandon Fraser and that hot girl, I don't know what her name is.
I remember.
Yeah, the third one sucked. The third one was stupid, don't watch it.
Yeah.
But Mummy 1 and The Scorpion King, That's the Mummy Returns. He fights the Scorpion King. Well, Hemotep, and I love Egyptian history. Hemotep was an architect, but they took his name and made it a priest that had all these magical powers, and he was buried with the Humdai because he was having an affair with the Pharaoh's wife. And he came back and he's brought back. You got to watch the movie. It's a good movie.
What God?
I know it's not Marvel Comics, so y'all don't watch it. So
I'll watch it.
It's insane.
Okay, to watch it.
You can go back.
it's a good movie.
Scorpion.
No, not Scorpion King because it's stupid.
I got
The Mummy and the Mummy Returns.
Oh, I've seen that.
like three killed 3 people. Only 3 people.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this? That's pretty self-explanatory. Again, it's a good question for you for critical thinking. Now, the best question for critical thinking is the one somebody sent, and I'll bring it up. And I don't know who sent it, but it's my favorite question. And the reason it's my favorite question is because you know how to do it already, but you just don't realize it because it's written a certain way. And that is Math 110. That is this question, I think. Number 3 on 3.4. The frog. No, that's not it.
I like the frog.
Well, good, because the frog is a good question. Now, you can relate it to basketball. You can relate it to a frog. This is a good question. And the reason it's a good question is because you know how to do it because of your pre-algebra. Okay? But you don't realize you know how to do it because what? The way it's worded, and that right there will freak you out. All right? So what I want you to do is I want you to write that down. It says negative 0.5 x squared plus 1.2x plus 4.4. I'm going to blow it up and I'm going to snap it. And I'm going to put it on the whiteboard because I don't really care what they're asking for at this point. I want you to see something. When we get through with it, I want you to see something. So I'm going to take my handy dandy snipper out. I guess that's what you call it. Yeah, we got teachers don't even know how to use this. Yeah, you know where I got the training? From UB University. It sure wasn't from Tri-County Tech. Our faculty staff development don't even know how to use Skype. And they're supposed to be teaching us stuff.
I thought it wasn't technical.
I'm sorry. I need to shut up. I'm recording. I should not bite the hand that feeds me. That's a good rule to remember. Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Don't protest the flag. That gives you the freedom to
Thank you
protest.
very much. That's a very, very renowned statement. Where did you learn that statement?
From Huber.
Exactly. It is a very, you don't protest the flag. The flag is what gives you the freedom to protest. Dumbass.
Like 30 killed.
That's what they're playing. NFL football.
The hell with the NFL. I ain't watched it in the last 3 years, and I won't watch it. I'm sorry. Y'all get me off kilter today.
Yeah.
Y'all mean that on, y'all do that on purpose, I know. All right, here we go. So take that. I want you to find the vertex and the x-intercepts. That's already going to give you the x-intercepts, but that's okay. I want you to find it.
If you're lazy, not do
Yeah, just sit there. Just don't raise that bar. Just, you know, status quo. Don't work at Chick-fil-A. Just, you know, end up in a, you know, I was in a mobile home for years. End up in a mobile home with 12 kids. Fine.
12?
Make decisions. Make bad decisions. You wonder why you're on live PD. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you ask me a question? What'd you say about Chick-fil-A? You don't?
I don't.
Why?
Okay, so you like the service, right?
Yeah.
It's fast. Imagine what.
Yeah, that's.
So they're not.
Well, I know a lot of people that work there that say it's great working there.
Well, they're working for such a Boulevard.
Oh, well. Well, I think one of the reasons and I'm not saying you do by no means. I just think that Chick-fil-A gets a bad rap because they're raising the bar and people are not used to it. And I don't know, I've done said that 2 or 3 times. I'm not going to say it anymore. But heaven forbid in the United States at this time we raise the bar. Heaven forbid.
If we can't meet the bar,
What?
if we can't meet the bar, we should just come.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what a lot of people are doing. Exactly. Well, let me just say this. If you make bad decisions through your junior high and high school and college career, if you make bad decisions, should you be rewarded for those bad decisions? No.
Yeah, NYC, I just looked it up, the minimum wage at NYC is $15 an hour.
Well, again, okay, you work at Chick-fil-A. Why do you work at Chick-fil-A? Because it's a part-time one. Is that a career for you? Okay, that's a good decision. Cashiers. I worked as I didn't work as a cashier, but unless they needed me. I worked at Walmart when I was my senior year of high school, and right after high school, I worked about 2 years at Walmart. Did I want to make a career out of Walmart? No, that never entered my mind. So what I'm saying is we've gotten to the point to where 20 or 30 years later, we need to compensate for bad decisions that people have made in high school and college. And I just don't think that's right. Now, there are certain instances like single mothers. I'm leaving them out because they, they're trying to put food on the table, and I understand that. I'm talking about Billy Bob that just wanted to hang out during his senior year of high school and didn't want to go to college and didn't want to do this, and he wants to make a career out of being a cashier at McDonald's. No, that ain't the way it works. You're not supposed to lower the bar. You're supposed to raise the bar. You're supposed to keep on striving, keep on learning. I'm still learning today. I'm training myself. All right. So, actually, we go to conferences and learn stuff, and I'm trying to find a conference now to learn more about doing more of this stuff in the classroom and doing videos and stuff like that. So here we go. 0. I'm going to put 0 over here, is equal to negative 0.5 x squared plus 1.2x plus 4.4. And of course, I'm going to multiply through by what? I'm going to multiply through by 100. That's a placeholder right here. That's not 100. That's not 1.2. Well, it is 1.2, so it really don't matter. We can multiply by 10. All right. So, 9. Well, multiply through by 100. So that's going to be 1, 2, that's going to be 50 x squared plus 120x plus 440 is equal to what? 0. Now I'm going to 50, that's going to give me x squared. I'm just going to put 120 over 50 for right now, okay? We'll reduce it in just a second. And that's negative 50 here. Everybody with me? All right, now, of course, that's a trick I learned in the war. Those zeros cancel, and you're left with 12 fifths. So I'm going to go over here in green, and I'm going to do 12 fifths divided by 2, which is equal to 12 fifths multiplied by 1/2, which is 12 over 10 multiplied by itself, which is what? Y'all quit whispering, talk. 144 over 100. 144 over 100. So that's going to be negative 50 x minus, and that's going to be what, 12 over 10, quantity squared, is equal to, that 50 will knock this out to 2. That negative will come out here, and we'll change this 440 to 880 over what? 2. So I'm going to change this to negative 880 over 2, and you should not ask why I did that. You should know why I did that. So that's going to be negative 880. That's going to be negative 1024. Somebody check my math. Somebody add 880 and 144, please. Okay, it doesn't take that long.
1,024.
Okay, so divide that by 2, you get 512. So negative 50 x minus 12 over 10 quantity squared is equal to what? Negative 512. So there's our vertex. Write down your vertex. What? You jump 512 feet. We must have to divide by 50. Divide 512 by 50. We got to get it in that intercept form. Divide 512 by 50.
10.24.
Yeah, that's a little high. I don't think that's right. Y'all check my math in there. Y'all check my math through the whole thing. Make sure I didn't make a mistake somewhere. Because I feel like I have. I'm going to check it with the calculator. Well, if I can find the calculator. Here's the calculator. Thank you. All right, so let's graph it. Y is equal to negative 0.5 x squared plus 1.20x. I still think we should have multiplied by 10. Plus 4.4. And graph. And second, trace max. And left bound, right bound, enter. 5.12. I knew that was too much. 5.12. I think we need to multiply by 10. I think that's where we went wrong. Okay, so write that down. 1.2. Did we get 1.2?
You got 12.
I got what? I didn't hear you. I heard 12 over. What?
12 over 10 is what you got.
Okay, is that 1.2?
Yeah.
Okay, so we must have done something wrong with the, I'm going to go through right quick. Just let me do this right quick. That's going to be 5x squared, negative 5x squared, plus 12x plus blank is equal to negative 44 plus blank. That's multiplying by 10. I think that's what we should have done to begin with. All right, negative 5. That's going to give me x squared minus 5 or 12 over 5 x plus blank is equal to negative 44 plus negative 5 times blank. Negative 5 times x. Okay, we need 12 divided by 5. 12 divided by 5 multiplied by 1/2. 12 would be 144 over 100. I think that's what we did wrong. 144 over 100. And that's going to be negative 5x minus 12 tenths quantity squared is equal to, and that's going to be, negative 5 will knock that out to a what, 20? And that's going to be negative 144 over 20. And that's going to be 20, the 880. Somebody multiply 20 times 44. What do you get? Negative 880. So that's negative 880 over 20. Somebody take negative 880 minus 144 over 20. That would be the same thing we got a while ago, wouldn't it? Negative 5 x minus 12 over 10 is equal to, what's negative 880 minus 140?
1,000.
We still got that, but we got the 20 there. Negative, so multiply, oh, we don't have to. 1,024 divided by 20, instead of it being 512, it's going to be 551.2. Somebody check me.
You're correct.
So that's going to be negative 5 times x minus 12 tenths quantity squared is equal to, I don't forget, what I say, 51.2?
Yes, sir.
51.2 negative. Now divide 51.2, well, yeah, divide 51.2 divided by 5. And I think we still didn't get 512. Wait a minute. We got 512. Okay, we're doing something. We've got 512, but I don't understand.
What do you
I don't understand why we've got one decimal place off. We've done something wrong on the right side again. So, but y'all see the 512 right here, don't you? I mean, I've got a decimal problem somewhere over there. Y'all can check that out. But anyway, there's your vertex. So we've got 5.12. If y'all can find it, please shout it out, please. So that's 1.2, comma, 5.12. 5.12. That's your vertex. Y'all know how to find the vertex. All right, so the highest point is when the frog is at 1.2 feet. He's at 5.12 feet on the Y. All right? Now, that's when we find the vertex. Now, they ask you a series of questions down here, and this is where the pre-algebra comes in. The pre-algebra comes in and says, how high is the frog when its horizontal distance from the base? What is that called? What is horizontal distance called? Is that X or Y? When the horizontal distance from the base is 2 feet. So you're going to go, what are you given, X or Y? You're given X, so you got to find what?
Y.
So how do you find Y with either a calculator or by hand? How do you find it? Tell me how you find it.
Plug it.
You plug in 2 to the original what? Equation. That's by hand.
H of 2.
Or what? In your calculator, what can you do? Go to your table. Go to your table and look for X is equal to what? 2. So X is equal to 2, so that's 1.2. Here's X is equal to 2. So take your table, and I'm telling you to use your calculator because on a test, I'd rather you use the calculator because it's quicker. So take your 2, and is it going to be higher or lower than your vertex? That's kind of easy to. It's going to be lower because your vertex is the what? Highest point. Okay, so we know it's going to be below 5.12. So somebody's looked in your table and find X is equal to 2. Let me guess. Y'all know how to use the table? I thought I showed y'all how to do that.
You did.
Okay, I did?
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all just sitting there. Okay, I just want to make sure I got my signs right. I know Pendleton just sits there, but I didn't think y'all did that. Oconee, y'all don't just sit there, so. All right, here we go. I'm going to go to the table. Or is it the window or the table? It's table, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where's the table? Second table. And look there. It's a miracle. What is Y? 4.8. So the pre-algebra in you, if you are given x, that means you're trying to find y. Okay, what does the second part of the question say? Well, let's look and see. Oh. Give me a second to work this thing. There we go. At what two distances from the base is the frog 4.5 feet above the ground? Now, what are you given there?
Y.
So you write 4.5 and 4.5. Now, this one's even easier. Now, you can set the equation equal to 4.5. You can do it by hand. Or, what can you do on the calculator?
She said look for y is equal to 4.5.
Okay. Or you can draw a line at 4.5 using your graph. So do whichever one you want to. So graph y is equal to 4.5. And what will it do? It will draw a line, and 4.5 will be right here. And guess where it will cross? It will cross two places. One right there, and one right there. You'll have to use your intercept, or you can set 4.5 equal to what? Negative 0.5. 0.5. Did anybody find the error over there? X squared plus 12x. What? Plus 44, 4.4? 4.4. And then solve. Solve that for x. Now that's complicated. But that's how you do that problem. It's a good problem. And once you do it a couple of times on your calculator, you should be able to belt out the answers pretty quickly. Is that a question for by hand? No, it's for the calculator. As you can see, 3.4 leads us into 4.1 and 4.2, which is done where? On the calculator. So that's those two questions. Y'all can't complain about me going over questions, can y'all? Because I think I've done like 5,000 questions for y'all. And this is the last one. I think it's that one. This is by hand, I think. Yeah, that one's by hand. So let's do that one right quick. So, first of all, you don't have to change anything. You just have to add the blanks on this one. So that's going to be 3x squared minus x plus blank is equal to 2 plus blank. Factor out of 3, x squared minus 1/3 x plus blank is equal to 2 plus 3 times blank. Half of 1/3 is 1/6. 1/6 squared is what? 1/36. So that's 3 times x minus 1/6. Quantity squared is equal to, well, that 3 will take this out to what? A 12, Hubert. That's right, class. And that means I'm going to change this into 24 over what? I'm sorry, 12, right? So what's 12? What's 24 plus 1? Now, is that good? Yes, good, because 25 is what?
It's square.
Perfect square. So now we've got our vertex. I don't know if that's what they're asking for. I don't think so. Solve the equation. Solution set. That means x what?
Intercept.
X intercepts. So let's divide by 3. When you divide by 3 over 1, you multiply by 1 over 3. Now we got 2 perfect squares. So now we go x minus 1/6 quantity squared is equal to 25 over 36. Takes the root of both sides. Positive or negative 5 over 6. And that's going to give us x is equal to positive or negative 5 plus 1 over 6. And that's going to give us a 1. What's -5 plus 1? -4. And that's going to give us a -2/3. This problem is designed to do by hand. You can tell because it's easier to do. All right?
Right, Hubert.
That's those 3 questions. I'm going to delete those. And we're going to go on and do some 4.1 and 4.2. We already did 4.1. So I want to get y'all into some new homework.
Yay.
Yeah. I'm sorry I'm raising the bar. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't do that.
Raise it higher.
Yeah. It's awful. I shouldn't do that. So I'm just going to go with 4.1 right quick, just to review, and for the people at home on the, on the whatever it's called, the YouTube videos that nobody watches. Okay.
Well, I'm not here.
I know, but some people don't watch them. More people need to watch them. Anyway, I'll shut up. Okay, slideshow, use presenter. I know I only got probably 3 minutes, but anyway. Let's just go over this right quick. We started on it the other day. I'm just going to go through. We're talking about higher functions, cubic functions, opposite directions, quartic functions, meaning even functions, look like a U, squares out. On the previous, hold on. What happens when the exponent gets higher and higher and higher? The saddle starts to what? Develop. This doesn't have a saddle. This starts to have it. If I did x to the 7th, to the 9th, to the 11th, to the 13th, this saddle would get more and more defined. Same thing with the u. This flattens out more and more as this goes up. So we talked about that. There's your family of graphs. We talked about the quartic function. I even told you on the family of graphs that it starts to get wider on the bottom, starts to flatten out as you go up on your index. Is this a test question? Yes. Do you do it on your calculator? Yes. All these are calculators. Turning points. How do you find your turning point?
You subtract the one from the
Highest degree.
yes, the high school.
Okay. Local min, local max, min, different, we talked about that. This is a min. This is a local max. This is a max. This is a max. This is a what? Min. And, some people call them absolute max. I just say max or min. And then the local max is whatever you have along with those. Okay, we already went through that. We talked about that. I want to make sure I went through everything. That's why I'm going over this. We talked about that. This is where we left off, I think, with the hidden behavior. What I tell you to do, make sure when you graph this function, you zoom in to the saddle. Zoom into the saddle because sometimes you'll have what's known as what? Hidden behavior. And if you zoom in, you will see that you've got a max and a what? A min. And you need to find those. You need to use second trace max and min. You need to learn how to use that. Not learn how to use it, okay, 5 minutes, I got the answer. You need to learn how to use it pretty quick. Number of turning points, we talked about that. And this is where we talked about going in opposite directions. This is called ending behavior. There it is, ending behavior. And that's ending behavior, we talked about that. So there's the ending behavior right there. So if I give you f of x is equal to x to the 7th, you know that it's going in opposite directions. If I give you x to the 8th, you know it's going in the same direction. With negative, be going down. So family of graphs. This should be like super easy for you. Why? Because we talked about it in Unit 1 and we talked about it in what? Unit 2. So that tells me I only got like 10 minutes left. God, I hate Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. Shut up. I hate that thing. Okay, you got 15 minutes. That's what I thought. All right, so this is where I think we left off. I told you to write these down and do it for homework. All right, let's match them up right quick. Which one is x to the 4th? C is in Charlie. Why? Because it's got ending behavior going in the same direction. Why is it not A?
Because it does have a negative.
Because that's a negative x to the sixth. All right, so we've got Charlie, and then alpha, and then 3x to the third. Well, that'd be B for Bravo. And then that leaves D, negative, would be the opposite direction. Again, you should be like, oh yeah, that's simple. That's what you shouldn't be sitting there going, x to the fourth, I don't know how to do that. You shouldn't be sitting there going that like that. And that's the answers. Okay, that's finding x-intercepts. Okay, 1x-intercept, 2x-intercepts, 3x-intercepts. I don't think I need to explain that. Okay, find the x-intercepts. What do you do if you want to find the x-intercepts? Well, with a cubic function, you set y is equal to what? 0. Or you go on the calculator and you find them. We don't even go into finding with a higher function anymore. Okay? You have to use long division. We don't do that anymore. All right, you just use the calculator. State the domain. What's the domain to anything except for fraction or radical?
Negative infinity.
All real numbers. Negative infinity, positive infinity. Range, you'll have to get that from what? Calculator. When you graph it. Okay, and most of the time, because what? It's to the 5th power. What are your arrows going? Most of the time, it's going to be all real numbers. Unless you have a radical or a rational, which means a fraction. There you go. That's analyzing, finding your x-intercepts. You got 3. How many turns? Well, in this case, you got 2 turns because it's a cubic function. So all of this should be like super easy for y'all, especially if you're on the calculator drill team. All real numbers. Now, the range here is going to be different because basically you have a parabola. So you will need to graph it. See there? So your lowest point is negative what? 41.6? So negative 41.6 to what? Infinity. And again, that should be second nature because what? You've been doing that since the first unit. Yeah, do it. Sure. Y'all think we can't hear everything you're saying. Okay, so here's x to the 6th. The negative, I don't know what that, you'll have to find that point right there. So negative blah, blah, blah to infinity. Anything x to the 6th, if it's not a radical or rational, all real numbers. And they'll go through, it's negative 256. There we go. You have to find those. You have to find the minimum, and then you have to get used to that on this calculator. Okay, where is this function? Negative 1,000 to infinity. That's your range, or whatever this is right here. It looks like negative something 1,000. All right, negative 990 or 950. So negative 950 to infinity. What's the domain? All real numbers.
Right.
So you shouldn't miss the domain on too many of these questions. If you do, you don't what? You don't tell anybody. So where is let's say this is 90, or it looks like 90. So negative infinity, or not negative infinity, but this one, you don't have arrows. So what is your range? What is your domain? From 1 to what?
12.
Okay, what is your range? Your range is from whatever this lowest y is. Somebody pick out the lowest y. 68. From 68 to what's the highest? 90? So that's your range on that.
Right.
And we'll get into this if we need to. That's where you use the calculator. I'll show you how to use that. Okay. 4th degree, what do you do? Punch this in a calculator. Domain is all real numbers. Range is going to be from the vertex to infinity or negative infinity. It's going upward because this is what? Positive. It's going to be wide as heck like a satellite dish. because it's what? It's got a fraction, but you know it's going to be going in the same direction, so you know it's going to be from the vertex, which is the bottom, to what? Infinity. And you know the domain is all real numbers. Now, what if they tell you to plug in 6? You go to the table, and you look up x is equal to what?
6.
And you get 880. Oops, I don't know what happened there. Yo, you're just going to come in at 15 till. Okay. Okay, that's good. You're such a loser. Speaking of lowering the bar, we still got what, 13 minutes? All right, 4.3 or 4.2. Again, we're going with theory of polynomials, more intermediate value theorem. That's called the squeeze theorem. I don't know why they're bringing the squeeze theorem in here. Okay, what do you do if you want to find x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 3? Go to the window, or I'm sorry, the table. So again, that's something that y'all should know. I'm sorry. How do I go?
Our test was beautiful.
You're beautiful. What do you mean beautiful?
I really appreciate it.
What did I do?
It wasn't hard.
Yeah, what? It
I thought
wasn't.
it was no hard.
It was hard. It's just that I do a good job teaching y'all.
No, it was not hard at all.
Okay.
I
All right.
like this.
So again, there's x to the third minus 2x squared on the calculator, and then if they ask you whichever, you go to the table and find it. All right, 3x to the third minus 2x plus 5. Now they want you to divide. How do you do division? That's how you do it. Now let's talk about this. This is where we need to talk about doing, I'll just go backwards. Let me go back. And I'm going to write down a couple of things that's very important. The first thing about long division, I don't teach synthetic. Why? Because it's restricted. So if I teach you synthetic, I have to teach you long division because there's some you have to do long division because long division is not restricted. So should I teach you 2 ways or should I just teach you 1 way that's not restricted? I'm going to teach you 1 way that's not restricted. All right, so here we go. First thing, and I'm going to put this in red. Red means what?
It's important.
It's important. So make sure all place values are accounted for. What does that mean?
You need to put in a 0x squared.
Exactly. If I need to put in a 0 term, I need to put it in because if I don't, it's going to screw up everything. So I got to make sure, like here, we've got something missing. We've got a square function, a square term missing. So I've got to plug something in here. Now, how do I know that? Well, I'm going to write it the way technically it's supposed to be written. 3x squared minus 2x to the first plus 5x to the 0 divided by x to the first minus 3x to the 0. Now, let's look at the way it's supposed to be written. Let's look at the degree of the function, okay? I'm sorry, it's supposed to be. Okay? Let's look at the degree of the function. We got 3, 1, 0. So what can you tell me about that? The square function is missing. Everybody understand that? So I got to put it in. 3x to the third plus 0x squared minus 2x to the first plus 5x to the 0. Now, is anything missing now? So that's what we're going to use. Is anything missing here? 1 and 0. Anything missing? No, so it's good. So divide by x minus 3. Okay? Now I'm going to take off what I don't need, and we're going to divide. So, x minus 3 into 3x cubed plus 0x squared minus 2x plus 5. And now you are ready to divide. Now, what if I had a missing term in the x minus 3? Then I would have to put a 0 term in there. That's why I wrote it in red right there. You have to make sure every place value is there. If you don't, you might as well not even do it because it's going to be wrong. Now, some people leave blanks, and that's fine. That's just splitting hairs. I don't care if you leave a blank or if you put in a 0x term. The reason I like 0x terms is when I was a student, I would forget that there was a blank there. And that's why I use 0x terms. All right, so here we go. I'm going to erase this. Well, I'm going to make it smaller because I probably only got like 3 minutes left. Hold on a second. I'm just going to have to keep going. All right, now we need to focus on one thing. What do you focus on? You focus on this guy right here. That's all you focus on. Now you got to remember your exponential laws. Are you looking up your exponential laws on your phone? Okay. Remember what I told you? Outside. But I got to answer it all the time. Well, then you need to stay outside then. Okay, I'm sorry. What is x to the first? X to the first, that's x to the first, right?
Yes.
Well, when I divide x to the first into x to the third, I got to use my law of exponents, which I need to subtract, right?
Right.
So what's 3 divided? This is a 1 right here. What's 3 divided by 1? 3. So I need to put a 3 here and an x to the what? Second. Now let's go back to basic math. 2 will go into 7. Now that's 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. And what do we always do? We always subtract. And then we add a 0. Or we say 1 remainder. Either one. Remember that?
Yes.
Same thing. So 3 times 1 is 3. X to the second times x to the first is x to the what? Third. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. X to the second times x to the 0 is x to the second. And what do we always do? We always subtract. We always subtract. Now this was always one term, but what if you have 2 terms? I always distribute. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to put a big negative out here, and then I'm going to say you can subtract, or you can distribute that negative and make this a negative and make this a what? Positive. Now there's 2 ways to do it. You can put a big old negative out here and you can subtract, or you can distribute the negative. I'm going to distribute the negative, and when I distribute a negative, that makes that big one turn to 2 little signs. Now, I don't care which method you use. Just pick one and what? Stick with it. So does this supposed to happen right here? Yes. That first column is always supposed to cancel. And the second one is just what it is. So what is 0 plus 9?
9.
And the negative 2x comes down to help out. And you start the process over again. How many times will 1x to the first go into 9x squared? 9x to the first times, because 1 plus 1 is 2. So 9 times 1 is 9. X to the first times x to the first is x to the second. What's 9 times 3? Negative 3. Negative 27x. You always what? Subtract. So I'm going to put a little negative here and a positive here. Okay, so that's going to give us, okay, that's going to give us negative, that's 25 what? 25x. So I've got 25x, and what comes down to help out? Plus 5. Okay, so 25x. How many times will x, 1x, go into 25x? 25 times. So 25 times x is 25x. And what's 25 times negative 3? And that cancels because we have a negative and a positive. And 75 plus 5 is 80, and you can write that as a remainder. You can say R 80. So, how many times will x minus 3 go into this? It will go in, let me put a green, it'll go in this many times with a remainder of 80.
That ain't bad.
It's not bad after you what? Practice, yeah. It's amazing what a little work and a little practice will do. And good decision. You put good decisions with practice and hard work, golly, there's no telling what might happen. You may be a DA from Westside that didn't know how to do math, got his degree in mathematics. Well, I'm trying to find my... What? I'm not even over there. All right, by the convulsing, it looks like time's up. Let's see if time is up. Yeah, it's close enough. All right, I want you to work on 4.1.